Welcome back, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, to the not funny show, SUPER-CAST. I am Mo de Poupée, your resident Fabricant and commenter extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I'm joined by my good friend, the anime expert, video game enthusiast, and lover of all things superhero, my good friend LADI. LADI, how you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing great. Just watched Loki on my brand new TV. Was amazing, by the way. So I'm ready to go talk about it. Excited.
Yeah, let's get to it. But of course, this is the SUPER-CAST, and we sit and talk about superheroes in the pop culture space. So that's video games, movies, TV, anything else like that. We'd love to get into that. And part of that is we like to keep up with what's new in the superhero pop culture world. So we're gonna dive into the news for the superhero news for this week. We're just gonna jump into it. Not a whole lot. This is a slow news week this week because they're making stuff. So if there's a slow news week, it's because they're making stuff. They're not talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And that's all good. So speaking of making stuff, we're gonna start off with some Marvel news this week. We're gonna talk about Black Panther officially beginning production on Wakanda Forever, the sequel to Black Panther, that the highly acclaimed 2018 superhero movie about the great nation of Wakanda and the leader. And
Can I interject real quick?
sure.
This picture that you're showing. The picture that they have for the article. Lupita is looking right now.
Does she
She's
ever
looking
not look
very.
right? Like is there some mythical time when Lupita Nyong'o doesn't look like on point? She, yeah, she's awesome. I can't wait to see her again in action. I'm super curious about who's going to take on the Black Panther mantle. I'm extremely curious about what's what is Okoye, what's she doing, what's just all, there's so much going on. Baku, the great ape. Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds like an Igbo man.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm there's not much else in the way of news about that. It's just good to know that they're in production. They're making things happen. I believe they're gonna be in Atlanta. I heard they're gonna shoot up to New England maybe to do some shooting. So who even knows,
Atlanta.
man? Yeah, but Atlanta, they're Marvel's always in Atlanta shooting stuff. So much if a little bit of movie magic behind the scenes stuff. That the fight in Wakanda in Infinity War was filmed almost entirely in Atlanta. So except the soundstage stuff was not, but the outdoor stuff was all in Atlanta. So there's some field in rural Georgia that you're like, oh wait a minute, Black Panther was totally kicking ass there. So all right, that's good news. Good to hear about Black Panther 2, aka Wakanda Forever. Moving on to more Marvel news. We have a little bit of kind of, I guess, behind the scenes word. There was Collider did an interview with Karen Gillan, and the part that we should care about the most is she was talking about working for different directors, portraying Nebula in the MCU, but she was also talking about her time filming. I believe she has a small cameo role in Thor 4, Thor Love and Thunder. And so she was talking about being directed by Taika Waititi. So, and now again, we said this before. I know that you love Thor Ragnarok, right?
Love it.
And what would you say? What would you say is the part of one of the things about Ragnarok that like really differentiated itself from the first two Thor movies?
Okay. The what I loved about Thor Ragnarok is that one of the things that was the best about the movie is that the humor came easy. I feel like in Thor 1 and Thor 2, some of the humor was a little cringe. You know what I mean? Like it was being forced. in Thor Ragnarok, it came so effortlessly where it was in the middle of a fight scene, something funny will happen, and it won't take anything away from the fight. You know what I mean? You
Right.
know, that's one of my favorite things about Thor Ragnarok. Plus, Thor Ragnarok, the setting was just different. It was a lot more colorful. It was a lot more vibrant. The characters were more, you know what I mean? They went from, I'll almost say, Thor 1 and Thor 2 felt almost like a DC movie. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
how it was dark. They use like colors like gold and stuff like that to contrast the dark colors to where in Thor Ragnarok was colorful. You know what I mean? It was colorful, vibrant. Thor was no longer wearing that classic armor that he was wearing. He's wearing more of a, I'll say more of like a resistant member type armor. You know what I mean? It was a completely different shift in philosophy. You know.
Right. And you know, you can chalk that up to Taika Waititi. Now, I don't know if you watched much of his stuff, but you can even see, you know, he played Korg. You know, he was the director, but he also played Korg
Hmm.
in Ragnarok, but also in Endgame. And he's a very funny person. If you've anything he's shown up in, he's very funny. But the things he directs and all that, he's a funny and he's got a good sense of it. He's got what I call that down under sense of humor. Because he's a New Zealander. He's also responsible for a show that if you haven't watched, it's a movie and also a show called What We Do in the Shadows, which is hilarious. About vampires, but it's like a comedy. So he brought that sensibility, and so Karen Gillan is essentially saying like that same sort of sensibility he lends it to one of the most humorless characters that exists in the MCU, and not humorless because she doesn't do funny things, because we have laughed at things that Nebula has done, but because she's just so dang, she's so laser
Intense.
focused and intense, and
Yeah.
so just doesn't crack a smile or a joke or anything like that. And so I can just tell you that that's the sort of thing that Taika Waititi is going to have a field day with, because you know Australian, New Zealand, their kind of humor is very much when there's a straight man in the group, that person is going to be funny just by the fact that everyone else is doing crazy things around them, and they're just trying to keep it together. So I'm I'm I never had any doubt about this. Taika Waititi he's one of the best directors in the game today. He definitely has made one of the best MCU movies. I know other people may have found the tone of Thor Ragnarok kind of off, but I thought it was genius, and
Yeah.
he's just one of my favorites. So I am so looking forward to see what he
I mean, the
does with her.
movie just started off fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Well, but I'm just saying, imagine that the essentially you can essentially say that Thor: Love and Thunder was born out of Ragnarok, in Ragnarok, but also really the way that I'm telling you, because I think he has actual producing credits on Endgame. He also influenced the way that Thor was written in Endgame, and
Hmm.
also he was Korg in there. So his fingerprints are all over the way that Thor exists now, and so we're just gonna get even more of that. The end, I can almost tell you that between Taika Waititi and James Gunn, the ending of Endgame, where we call it the Asgardians of the galaxy uh, leaving, I can almost guarantee you that Taika Waititi had something to do with that. So we're gonna get more of that, according to Karen Gillan. So I'm really looking forward to that. Moving on to something that I call it a no news item, but us MCU. One thing that the MCU, that Kevin Feige and his brain trust at Marvel Studios has done, they've really developed in all of us fans of the MCU our desire to find patterns where there aren't any. You know, we're the one thing we love to do is like try to read anything into anything that happens in the MCU, no matter how small or innocuous. So to that end, they changed the post credit scene of episode 9 of of WandaVision. And they just did it. They didn't say anything about it. They just did it, and someone was rewatching it like, that's different. And there was like comparison photos and everything.
Conspiracy theories went
And
wild.
they were like, and they also added a credit for Doctor Strange's theme at the very end. And then, like clockwork, someone said, "Oh, this Doctor Strange's thing." Now people are seeing, silhouettes or shadows of Doctor Strange in these little grainy ass pictures that of like I'm serious. If you look at the before and after pictures, you can see like, okay, this is different. They added more trees and shit around the cabin. And I swear to God, I watched this back and forth probably about 5 times, and then I scrutinized the pictures, and I'm like, where the fuck is Doctor Strange? That's all I'm gonna ask. Okay. There's nothing, but they did make the change. So the good job, golf clap to Marvel Studios.
You know what this reminds me of? This is bringing me back to when I was a teenager. One of the biggest conspiracy theories, and it was in anime. It was when Pain was coming to when Pain was introduced in Naruto Shippuden. It was so big of a conspiracy, even I got involved in it. Me and my brother, we were researching everything. That everybody thought Pain was Naruto's older brother. You could not tell me anything different. In 2008, I was 1,000% sure Pain was Naruto's brother because we just started looking at clues. Wait, Naruto's mom had red hair. Pain has red hair. Wait, hold up. Pain looks oddly Pain looks oddly like Naruto. And then we found out Pain's age, and we're just started connecting the dots in our heads, and we're just going like, he has to be Naruto's older brother. And that's what we kept thinking, Naruto's older brother, until finally Kishimoto ripped all our hearts out, and we just find out Pain is a dead body that's being controlled by Naruto's cousin.
Yeah. Hey, that's how you're a true like, you know, film nerd or whatever you want to call it. That's or just any kind of pop culture nerd, but particularly when it comes to like superhero stuff. And it's part of that is it's a bleed over for if you were a comic fan, like you get used to,
Yeah, you're looking at
just, you get used to
the
trying to figure out what it is that they're trying to get at before they tell you what it is.
because you know another anime that's really good at that, and you really can't see it unless you read the manga, is Bleach. Like, the writer of Bleach literally told you the beginning and ending of Bleach in the first volume. You just couldn't see it. But if you paid attention, if you go back and like read Bleach, if you go back and finish Bleach and then go back and read the first volume of Bleach, it will blow your mind how many Easter eggs and foreshadowing he put in the first freaking volume. And it
Right.
just was like, Jesus Christ. If we just had a mind, if we were just paying attention, we would literally know how the whole entire series would have ended.
Yeah. That's
From the
I kind of have gotten away from that. I know this I'm gonna lose my nerd cred, but I kind of like to get away from that shit because you know how many times I've ruined a movie or
Yeah,
TV
yeah,
show because it wasn't what I was like. I was so invested in it. I
yeah.
almost literally was it Harry Potter and the Half Blood Prince was a huge letdown for me because I spent 2 years being like, oh shit, it's gonna be this, oh shit, and listening to dumbass people online talking about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
When it comes out, is yeah, I'm with you on that because I'm the same way. I used to be into, like, because one of my things is video game trailers and video game stuff. After I watch your initial trailer, I don't want to watch it ever again.
thank you.
All I gotta do is see how it looks. Once I know it looks good and it plays good, I never want to see anything ever again because I want to literally know absolutely nothing. I do not want like because one of my favorite gaming game franchise is coming back, Metroid Dread. My brother's like, "Hey man, the dude just released one of the creators just released an article about it." I said, "I'm not reading it." My brother's like, "Why?" I said, "Because I don't want to know anything about the story. I want to experience the story. I don't want to come up with ideas and stuff, and then when the game comes out, I'll be like you said, I'll disappoint myself."
Yeah.
I said, "Nope, I'll play it when it comes out." I
Exactly.
said,
Now that's kind of that's I don't have time to go too deep into it, but that's really kind of one of my caveats as a fan of these things. Because the thing is fans like us, people who are going to listen to what we're talking about or listen to any other podcast talking about stuff like this,
mhm.
our we are our own worst enemies because we love this stuff so much we can't stop thinking about it, and we have super active imaginations, and we'll just get together and we'll make up a story on our own. Regular people don't do this. Like
Yeah,
normal people, I wish there were more people there were more people that thought as hard about this as we do, but they mostly. I try to watch movies like they watch movies,
yeah,
which is to just be like, okay, I'll just wait to see what they do on it, and that not sit here and formulate theories, but just really just watch what they give us. And I
yeah,
found that once I started doing that, once I stopped doing that theorizing shit, and just was like, I'm just gonna wait to see what they give me, it makes it so much better to watch
yeah,
anything. It's not just about not being spoiled. It's about not disappointing myself that the movie I wrote or TV show that I wrote in my mind didn't get done, because if I could actually do this the way people can at Marvel Studios, I'd be at Marvel Studios doing it. So clearly
yeah,
I'm not a good storyteller. They are. So
yeah.
that's yeah. That's just my advice to people. Just don't do that to yourself. You'll ruin everything, and you'll get a good movie and think it's trash because it's not your movie. So
Yeah, it's not what you wanted it to be, and that's the thing. And like you said, that's why it's like you said. I'm the same way. I watch one trailer, and I never want to watch it again. Like, see, this is what I do. I watch of anything. I watch the first trailer and I watch the final trailer because the first and final trailer literally shows you nothing. The first trailer just hypes you up saying, "Hey, look, they're making this new movie or they're making this new game." And the final trailer is just to hype you up to buy the movie or go to the movie theater watch the movie or vice versa, you to buy the game. But if you watch all those trailers in the beginning and you read all these articles, it will pretty much ruin. Not only will it ruin the story, it will get your mind rolling, and then it will pretty much let you down if it's not what you think it's going to be.
exactly. Yeah. So you guys don't do it. don't
Yeah,
don't
don't
be
do it.
one of those guys. You're just setting yourself up for failure. So but yeah, so I don't think Doctor Strange is in that. But if you want to go check it back and go frame by frame, I guess be my guest. It's not worth the time, I don't think.
No.
Finally, the final bit of news for Marvel. I saw today that there's going to be a Simpsons little featurette about it's a Marvel themed featurette, and it's kind of similar to the Star Wars one they did. Was it a year or two ago? And it's gonna start. Tom Hiddleston's gonna be in there as Loki, and they're gonna be in Springfield, and there's gonna be a bunch of different characters from Springfield that also look like superheroes. So I think you got to see that little image. What's your thoughts about that?
Okay, first of all, this is freaking hilarious. The fact that Bart is Thanos is 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 I love this. I love I'm a fan of The Simpsons, and I love how they're doing it. The only thing that I have what's going through my mind is where is Homer? That is the number one thing that's going through my mind right now. Who is Homer? Uh, Homer's obviously what is he? Captain America?
I don't. Who is Homer? I
because
don't.
he's not
Yeah,
there because
it's
they got Loki there.
that
So
is hilarious. That's so it's Flanders is Ant-Man. I don't even remember the name of all these people, but
okay, yeah, I can't remember
so
all of
but
them.
you got Mo as Vision. I don't even know who's supposed to be Captain Marvel. Um, yeah,
uh,
and it looks like it
is that
looks
his? Who is that? Is it
yeah,
that?
but so you got Lisa as Thor. Actually, I think the guy that's playing Captain America is he? Oh no, that's Bucky. He's supposed to be Bucky because he's missing an arm.
Yeah,
Oh wow. Millhouse as Hawkeye. I don't know the old lady as Black Widow, and then whatever Barney. Is it Barney's the he's Iron Man, and I forget the black friend, but he's Nick Fury. So that's I just you know what this is. A lot of people are like really. There's a lot of people like, oh, I wish Disney hadn't bought 20th Century Fox. You believe it or not, people there's some people that think that shouldn't have happened because it's more the Disneyfication of the Fox Marvel stuff, or or anything like that. But here's one of the good aspects. One of the many good aspects, because one of the other ones is that their movies come out on time and they get the money they need, and they're
and
they're
then
they're good. But
and
also, this is one of the other good ones, is
yeah,
they cross over other Disney stuff with Fox stuff. This is
and they get the
a great
freaking
idea.
and they also get the freaking X-Men out of Fox's hands for the love of God. Thank you.
Hey, you know what? I will defend many of the Fox X
Okay,
Men.
don't do not defend that last movie. If you defend New
Which one?
Mutants,
You know
the
what?
horror movie,
You know what? I'm gonna say this about New Mutants. It had the potential to be I liked it, but it had the potential to be a great movie. Except Fox got cold feet about the concept of making it a horror movie. They did not lean into it the way the director wanted. And they were supposed to do reshoots to fix the movie up, but because of the deal with Marvel, they just never did the reshoots. If they had done some reshoots, they could have turned that into a really good movie. That's the thing, is a lot of movies get reshoots, especially superhero movies, when they realize, oh, we need extra coverage, or this isn't working, we want to rework this, and they budget for it. And they had it, but they never did the reshoots. And we got the movie as it was originally cut, as well as they could cut it. So I will defend New Mutants. I think there's a lot of dumb stuff in it, and there's a lot of like obvious budgetary problems, but it has a strong, it has strong bones. And there's many
okay.
others. People say X-Men Apocalypse is bad. I like that movie. I've sat and
Now,
watched
what's it
it.
called?
I was like, I don't know why.
Apocalypse wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know why people
Apocalypse
think it
was
sucks.
decent. The what's it called was bad though. Like I was just like, why are they making this movie
Yeah,
again?
Dark Phoenix. Yeah,
We've
Dark
already
Phoenix.
seen this.
Yeah, the X Men Dark Phoenix. Yeah, it was. That's what a miscue there. Um, but that the basically Fox X Men. I'd say it's 60-40. Good to
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
But it's good that among the many other good things that Disney brings to the table besides Marvel Studios, which in and of itself is great. But you get stuff like this. There's some synergy there. Everyone loves the Simpsons. Everyone loves the MCU. Why the hell not? This is an alternate universe, and the TVA apparently is not going to have a problem with this multiverse. So, oh,
No
that's
way.
that's good fun. But that's a good fun bit of news there.
Hmm.
Only other two more things on the list. I'm gonna run through them quickly. There's going to be a Madame Xanadu series coming to HBO Max, a TV series from DC. Um, I don't think you know who Madame Xanadu is.
I have no
I
idea.
sort of know. It's a sort of an occult magic character that existed in the DC comics. Kind of, well, think of in the 70s they were doing a lot of different things. So one of the things they did, they revived the House of Mystery comics, which were like horror comics in the 50s and 60s, I think. And Madame Xanadu was sort of related because she's sort of a fortune teller and she's got magic and shit like that. They did a revival comic series in the mid 2000s. That was actually really good. It didn't run very long, unfortunately, because like people just didn't quite get the character. But if you want to place her in your mind conceptually, think John Constantine. Think the Dark, not Justice League Dark or something like that. She's that kind of character.
Yeah, I'm looking at her right now.
So they're gonna be doing a TV show based on Madame Xanadu. They call it Madame X, but it's Madame Xanadu. I think it's just to avoid copyright issues with the name Xanadu. But it should be interesting. That's the thing is like this is the sort of show that nowadays with the lower cost of certain kinds of VFX, you can do that. They more or less are doing something like that with the Lucifer show that's on Netflix right now. It was also on Fox originally, and also the Umbrella Academy. There's similar kinds of stuff like that, and they're also doing the Sandman show. So that level of VFX it's not Avengers level, right? And it's not Smallville, shitty. So it's somewhere in between there, and they can do shows like this for a budget, and it's also going to be on HBO Max, so they got a bit more money. I'm excited for it personally because I love that sort of superhero world, but like kind of the magical underbelly that we don't get to see. It's kind of like they sort of did that with Doctor Strange, and we're going to get some more of that in the MCU with Blade and so forth. But I love anytime they expand the DC or Marvel universe. I'm down with that. The last bit of news, and it's just just a quick blurb. Aquaman 2 started filming this week. I think it was on Monday, and they did a little photo from the set. So they are, and it was snow and shit on it. So I'm gonna somehow Arthur Curry's going to be making snow angels and possibly maybe he'll meet Elsa up there. But it's good to know James Wan took a photo, so they're returning. I don't. You liked Aquaman, right?
Yeah, I liked Aquaman. Yeah.
It's good. It was a good time. I enjoyed the time that was spent on that movie, and it was way better than it had any business doing, considering Aquaman only talks to fish. Am I right? Now Momoa's was a badass. It was really cool, and I'm really looking forward to Aquaman 2, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually kind of looking forward to the DC movies coming out. Aquaman 2, and then of course,
Shazam, Fury of the
Shazam
Gods.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, there, and oh my God, and I didn't even tell you about the cast. There was, I'll mention this just because there was, I guess, some leaked concept art from the new Flash, and it might blow your mind, dog. Just saying, it might blow your mind. They're talking about the 3 pictures they had. One of them, let's see if I remember it exactly. One of them had Bruce Wayne in his Batman suit. So I know that was one. Like, so they had a Bruce in his Batman suit, and then they had one. I'm sorry, they said Michael Keaton in his Batman suit. Another one had Supergirl. Then they had a spoiler tag to cover up one of the characters, but Supergirl kind of hovering over, Flash and Bruce Wayne. Was it Bruce Wayne? Yeah, Flash and Bruce Wayne. So your dreams of old man Batman seem to be they're going to be realized. And you know what? And maybe even this time Michael Keaton will get to turn his head side to side because he doesn't have that weirdo bat
technology.
Yeah, he doesn't have that
technology is so much better. Him looking stiff as shit, walking with his neck.
Yeah, so it's, hey, you know what? Your dreams are coming true here. So that's, DC they're doing their thing. They're not. Their thing is that they don't have Disney Plus to be constantly being like, remember the MCU's here.
Yeah,
they gotta they gotta toil away inside in the darkness, but their shit is coming. It definitely is coming soon. So, but
nice. Also, speaking of which, some gaming news when it comes to superhero.
okay,
Uh, Sony Spider-Man 2 might be an Into the Spider-Verse game.
hell yeah, why not? They already got Spider-Man Miles Morales, even though I know that Miles Morales is in the same universe as Peter Parker. But hell yeah, why not to go along with that supposed Spider Verse movie that No Way Home is supposed to be? So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
be- yeah, because the new Ratchet and Clank game that was Ratchet and Clank what's it called? Rift Apart. It was teased in the game that every PlayStation, uh, every PlayStation game is all connected by different dimensions, and each PlayStation game has multiple dimensions. And they saw Spider-Man, and they saw different dimensions of Spider-Man. So, probably so Insomniac, who makes Spider-Man games, by the way, pretty much teased that they might be making a Into the Spider-Verse game.
yeah. I'd be everyone should be down for that.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah, I'm definitely down for that.
So I think that's all our news for the week. For such a slow news week, we sure had a lot to say about it. So,
Hmm.
but you know what? We missed something. It's entirely possible we missed something on the internet. Surprise. So if we did, you guys can always hit us up, supernotfunnyshow at gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. Let us know what we missed, and we'll check it out. Maybe we'll even cover it on the next one if it's not old news by then. So let us know. We love to hear from you. All right, enough of that news stuff. Let's get on to the main event for the Supercast this week. As always, for at least for the next few weeks, it's gonna be all about Loki. This is all about Loki. The Supercast, that is the superhero thing happening now, and
Yep.
I kind of liked the idea of calling this episode the Loki of love, or the Lokis of love, rather.
The
Uh,
Lokis of Love. Yeah,
uh,
that's a
the and
very fitting name.
very apt name. So we're going to talk about Loki episode 4. Um, which what the hell is the name of this episode? What was the name of it? Uh,
Uh, uh,
I'm gonna
the
kick
Nexus
myself.
event. The Nexus
Yeah, the
event.
Nexus event. The Nexus, and we know what the Nexus event. It was. It's. I don't think this is as big an event as they made it out to be. But hey, the Nexus event. Um, so last we checked, episode 3, Lamentus, Loki and Sylvie, aka Lady Loki, aka Sylvie, we'll call her that. They were stuck on the world, the moon of Lamentus, as Lamentus itself was preparing to completely annihilate that civilization, an extinction level event. Everyone's going to die, and they were stuck
Mm.
on Lamentus, and that's where the episode opens. And you know, we proceed from there. Uh, our pair of Lokis get out of this jam? So, before I give my thoughts, I would like to uh, give the floor to you, Lottie. Let me know, let everyone else know what you thought. Non spoiler, of course, what you thought
Okay.
about this episode.
Okay. Another episode that I loved, by the way. I love this. I love this episode. It was, to me, it was another good episode. I enjoyed myself watching it. You know, it's like you said, you go back and you go like, well, dang, last episode it gave us a little bit of information, but this episode it started finally answering some questions that we've all had. And like I said, from the beginning to the end, like I told you, I have a new TV now, so it looked a lot better than it did on the TV that I have in my room. So seeing, like I said, the presentation, bringing all the characters that are, into this one episode, seeing, the different aspects of their relationships, expanding upon them, and the few little like because it was because like you said, you give the name was very apt, the Loki of love, because it's not just the Loki of love. Because I'm pretty sure what the audience is thinking, it's not just that love. There's just different people, their relationships with each other, and there are some betrayals, there was some happiness, there was a lot of sadness, but it was in probably the best episode this season,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Now, yeah, no, I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Um, yeah, I don't want to step on your review real quick. So if you're, let me know if you
No,
have
yeah, I'm
more to
pretty
say.
much done. I'm done now.
Okay. All right. So my thoughts on it. This is absolutely the best episode of this season. An episode where I felt like exposition was balanced out with activity. I've been wondering about this. I'm like, what are we doing in this show? Because it felt like a whole lot of exposition, but not a whole lot of action. And the little bit of action that did happen, it just didn't seem to push the story forward. But in this episode, they've actually decided to put their foot on the accelerator and get things like really moving. And so a lot of the to their credit, a lot of the seeds that have been planted in previous episodes have started to bear fruit. And this episode, where we start off with Loki and Sylvie about to die, literally about to die. We see a shockwave about to hit them, and then a couple doors open, and they are able to leave, but they know it's death or capture, and so they have to go back. And from there, I ask myself questions like, well, if they just want to get rid of these guys, why don't they just get rid of them? And so it starts making you wonder. It started making me wonder, like, what is really the end game here? What's the ultimate goal of the powers that be? Um, they they gave us a look at the timekeepers. They gave us a look at maybe inside the minds of up until this point, which have been pretty opaque, the minds of the TVA agents, the various ones that we sort of know, right?
Hmm.
And we see how in this episode we are, again, seeds that were planted earlier. We see how Loki's ultimately are gods of mischief and chaos, and just
Yep.
their mere existence can upset the balance of an organization that seemingly has been around for a really long time, and they're really good at their job. But somehow, when not
Well,
one one, you
I
know,
got a lot to say about that. But
what?
go ahead,
Yeah, I
keep
was
going.
just saying, like, one, not one Loki, but two of them, who kind of who they've kind of started a ball rolling downhill that is, could really upend everything we know and understand about what the TVA is. And you I think you get a lot of really good character moments that do not have to be in a slow time. There's a lot of good character interaction that goes on in this episode that does not require two people to sit down and just talk. There's actually things moving on. Things are happening. You feel like there's a dynamic feeling to this episode that I've been missing, even from the
Hmm.
previous episode when they were out on a walkabout. And so, and there's real. I felt like there was real emotional connection between characters. There's some pretty telling, I guess, some pretty telling interaction between Loki and Mobius that I didn't quite expect to see. And when I saw it and really thought about it, I was like, wow, the writers really thought about how they were going to construct that relationship between Mobius, because it's not a long relationship. They haven't known each other that long, and yet there's
Hmm.
one there that's pretty strong. And also between Mobius and Ravonna, and between uh, you know uh, Hunter B-15 and Sylvie. So there's just like a lot of that stuff swirling around, and you can just see the chaos magic, if you will, that's really leading to what like I said, maybe the upheaval in the TVA. and I love it. This is the first episode I can say I loved this episode. Everything that happened in it seemed to a purpose. They weren't just treading water. We're going somewhere, and that goddamn post-credit scene was so fire. So fire. I mean, this episode did what I wanted to do. It made me. I had to pause the episode several times to sit and talk to Jen and just be like, "This is this. This is what this means. This speculation that I thought this was what was happening. This is what was happening, or or this is really what's happening." And there was a twist at the end. They did everything right in this episode. Everything correct to hook me. They should have done this 2 episodes ago, but they did it in this episode, and I'm down with it. I want to see where the hell this train is going. So that's what I feel about this episode. It was pretty awesome. So I think that's spoiler free. That's a spoiler free time. If you have not seen this episode, what are you doing here, sitting here listening to us talk about it? I mean, I appreciate you being here listening to us. Go watch the episode. Come back. We're gonna chop it up about these spoilers because there are many. So
yes,
take the floor, Lottie.
Okay, I need to unload because first of all, the beginning of the episode pissed me off. These pieces of shit kidnapped a 5-year-old girl.
Well, I think she's probably more like 7, but whatever.
But still, these pieces of shit. She was just playing with her fucking. I was just sitting there going like, these pieces of shit. These pieces of shit. All she's.
You remember we talked about this last? Remember we talked about this last week? I was like, are these guys the bad guys? And I was like, I think they are. I think they're the bad guys.
All she was doing was just playing with her toys. Hey, you're like, you're disrupting the timeline. You're arrested. And the thing about it is, it's amazing. It took until Morbius and Hunter B, what's her name again?
B-15.
It took them to finally look like, hey, you know what? Maybe what the hell? Like, honestly, you got to ask yourself how much of brainwash or pawns you have to be to see a 5-year-old girl or 5 or 7-year-old girl being taken through basically, the prison, like, being basically put into the prison system. Like, nobody there was just going like, you know what, maybe this is fucking wrong. They're just going like, yep. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it makes you wonder how many little kids, you don't know. They might have did that to a newborn baby, damn it. You don't know. Oh, this baby was born a week early. It's disrupted the timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. I think, like I said, we said that last week when we kind of saw that little teaser for Sylvie, and I was just like, I think these guys are the bad guys.
Yeah.
And seeing the way, and they doubled down on it. When I actually saw the whole scene, I was like, oh yeah, they're doing that shit. But this also confirmed for me something we speculated on last week, which is how can a variant grow up? She was a kid and she grew up. Actually, before I say that, what the TVA, for being so badass, they're really not very badass. They kind of suck. Loki, little girl Loki, literally
all she did was just kick him in the shin and ran away.
It took her little pad. Loki stole Mobius's pad. Like, maybe y'all don't have fingerprint access or something like that. I don't understand how y'all let it go like that. Yeah, but. Yeah, seeing that I said before that probably what was happening was that in order for a variant to grow from being like, oh, he missed lunch that day to becoming Genghis Khan in the 25th century, the way you go from one to the other is someone's got to live long enough for that shit to happen to them. And what this seems to have confirmed, and Sylvie sort of said something that she said literally, like, she lived long enough until she had varied so much that she was close to redlining, and that's when they recognized her and took her and destroyed her timeline, right? Mm-hmm. So that more or less confirms, without saying explicitly, that there are many possibly infinite parallel timelines that are running next to the sacred timeline. And the reason why they continue to exist is because they are not varying enough to get close to red line. And that's when the TVA steps in. So this answers a question that we had from episode 1. How did Steve Rogers live a whole life? How did he live a whole life in an alternate timeline where he wasn't, where he got to live with Peggy Carter? That's the answer right there. He lived in a timeline that was not close enough to red line to raise red flags, and therefore he could live his whole life. In fact, I imagine that if you missed lunch and that was it, and you never did anything else, that differently, you could possibly live your whole life as a variant and never see the TVA. So
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so what other things did you see in that?
Okay, first of all, it was kind of weird when Loki and Sylvia started like having that little moment, and I'm just going like, is this masturbation?
But see, that's the thing though. It's like, look, I knew that, and Mobius sort of, he's like, it's weird, and there's all this judgment and shit in here. Let's just put this to rest. Loki and Sylvia aren't the same person.
Yeah, they're not the same person. I completely agree. I have no problem with it. It was just going like, you're just sitting there going like, I saw this coming, but it was just like,
why wouldn't he love himself? I mean, why wouldn't he love himself? I mean, he's his favorite person in the whole world.
That is fucking hilarious. I was dying laughing at that point. He was like, of course you will love yourself. Well, I was like, I didn't even think of it like that.
Well, I mean, in a way, they're sort of saying that Loki first needs to love himself. he thinks he's not worthy of love. He needs to learn to love himself. But in a way, he sees a reflection of himself, and he has an emotional connection to her. Why wouldn't he? Now that he knows her story, why wouldn't he have a connection with her? And she's been alone her whole life. Why wouldn't she have a connection with him? Assuming she has a connection with him. So why wouldn't they sat and they went through a shared hardship? I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. Now, if he looked exactly like himself, would people be like, ugh, what the hell? And to that, I still say he's still not the same person. These aren't the same people. This is a different Loki. Just because he happens to look like an identical twin to himself. Okay, I get that it'd be kind of weird, for ourselves. But he's a god, so I mean, we can't apply the same level.
Plus he's Loki. So
yeah, he's Loki. I personally, I was like, okay, cool. If this keeps Sylvia around after the end of this series, let's make it happen. Because I still feel like she's going to be killed before the end of this is all over. Because Marvel, right? But I did enjoy that little aspect. I enjoyed the fact that Mobius just was like, ew, this is so terrible. I'm like, oh, okay. You guys, you randomly pick people and then disintegrate them, but this bothers you that Loki might like himself. Okay.
Yeah. And another thing that really was like I didn't understand about the when I was just going through is that this chick is so hell bent on keeping everything in the TBA okay that she's willing to she just killed she just killed Mobius.
I know. Oh, you know what? I was like, again, is Ravonna a bad guy? Yes, she's a bad guy.
Yeah, she is definitely. She's a terrible. She literally just was like, end him, and it's like you said, he, and the thing about it is, how can you sit here and be okay with the fact that that these people were taken from their lives, and you're just sitting here going like, just deal with it. And
she's lying about it. She had C-20 killed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's and she supposedly has this close relationship with Mobius, but she just, in order to preserve what's going on. I mean, she clearly knows that everyone there is a variant.
Yeah.
So and I was since you mentioned Mobius, I think I said before about the relationship between between Mobius and Loki. He said, this is he said this is a friend talking to you, or something to that effect. And all I could think was, y'all ain't known each other long enough to be saying the things you're saying. Mobius, if you think about him, what a kind of a sad and lonely existence he seems to have. He only knows Loki through having busted him before, his other variants of himself, and having spent some time, becoming the foremost Loki expert. When I was talking to Jen about it earlier, I was like, it's like like, I don't want to, put people out, but like, it's like an unpopular kid who kind of fixates on a cool kid or something, and learns everything about him from afar, and then they have one little interaction and we're best friends, and it's genuine to Mobius.
Yeah.
And so much so that even though he can sit there and be like, you're a liar and all this, he was taught bad mouthing him, and yet he believed him enough to challenge this lie, and to follow it all the way to its end, and even to be to be part of resistance, only to be, his last words to be something about a jet ski. And
Yeah.
I was like, at that point I was like, fuck you. I was like, Ravonna, fuck off, man. I hate you. And that's the funny thing, is because the actress that plays her is one of my favorite actresses.
Yeah.
But I was like,
her,
oh man, fuck off. You're terrible.
He just wants to be on a jet ski. Then now, what's her name? B Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter B-15. Yeah.
You wonder what life she was living. Maybe she was a mother with, had kids and had a husband. Maybe she was this. You don't know. She had a very good life, to the point that
she said she was happy.
Yeah, she's to the point that she's like, I was basically told my whole life to kill you. Now I'm like, please help me stop this so I can have it. So nobody else can go through. Because the thing about it is, unfortunately, they can never go back to their lives because their timeline has been erased. So they can never have their lives back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the sad part. Because, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, oh, well, they can always, at the end of this, they can always go back to their lives. No, they can't, because their universe, they're a variant. If they were taken out of their timeline has been erased. Their lives are gone. They can never go back. They are basically nomads at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where can they go? Because if they go into another, because the thing about it is, they are variants. They're all variants of somebody else. So if they try to go, let's say, into the original timeline, there's already them in that timeline. You know what I mean? So it's like, they're just nomads.
Well, it's worse than that, because remember, Sylvia was like, she was chased around for like so many years until she figured out how to hang out in an apocalypse. But just showing up in another timeline causes a variant. Causes
a variation.
So they can't even do that, because the only time that the TVA agents ever show up in a universe is to apprehend somebody and then destroy the universe. So it doesn't even matter. I mean, they really are stuck where they are. I suspect though that B-15 is she is going to be one, if she survived that little fight, the start of an internal revolt at the TVA, where people are going to be like, what's going on?
So now this is the question, because now we saw that they were just robots, mindless robots. They're not even an AI. Do you think old girl started the TVA? I'm not saying she started the TVA by herself.
Well, you know what? Okay. So you're talking about the timekeepers being, robots or whatever. And didn't that make you? I love the fact that if you look at the setup of the whole thing, it reminded me very much of like
a pizza place.
No, well, I was gonna say it reminded me of the Wizard of Oz. The whole, the Oz, the Great and Powerful. It's very much so fake. I think it's very clear that was an homage to Wizard
Yeah.
of Oz. I personally do not think Ravonna. I think she's a henchman of the big bad. Now the question is, these aren't the only options. Could be some other person we don't know about. Is it Kang? Because in the comics, Kang and Ravonna are an item, right?
Hmm.
When they had robots, I was like, oh shit, did Ultron escape or something like that? It's no, I'm being dead serious. And no, and here's the other thing. Given the way that that post credit scene, could it be another Ultron that we're more familiar with than the MCU Ultron?
uh,
So I'm not saying that's true.
You
I'm not
know
saying that's
what? You
true.
are on to something because it is 1000% right. I gotta expand my mind because if there's a variant of one person, there's a variant of every single villain that we know. Because we know for a fact the Thanos in Endgame is a variant of the original Thanos.
Well,
So if
I
there,
suppose since technically he's the real Thanos because he's in the sacred timeline. So the Thanos we know from the comics is a variant. But I get what you're saying. Let's just talk about it. We're skipping around a lot, but that post credit that post credit stinger, where you see the four different Lokis, and that Loki isn't actually dead. He gets stuck in the back and disintegrated, but he's not dead. So apparently the stun rod sends them somewhere else. And we saw the kid Loki. We saw the alligator crocodile Loki. New character Boastful Loki, the black guy with what looks like Mjolnir or some kind of Mjolnir hammer. And the one that just referenced, and that's the speculation, the classic Loki, played by Richard E. Grant, by the way. So that's awesome that he's in there. But he's wearing the costume from the '60s. Because Loki is the reason why the Avengers came together. In the original Avengers in the '60s, comic, he's the reason why they came together, and he's wearing the exact same costume that he wore in that comic. So if there is a comics accurate Loki, why can't there be a comics accurate Kang or Ultron or anything? We don't know.
I would love for it to be Ultron.
It could be Ultron. It
I
could
would
be.
love for it to be Ultron so they can fix
I'll even
that
say
Ultron
this.
movement.
I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit more here. If you're up on your X-Men's, it could be Nimrod. And Nimrod is a time traveling android, and that's bent. He's from the future, but he can time travel.
Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah.
know exactly what you're talking about.
So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's true. In fact, it's probably not. I'm just gonna say it's probably not. But the mind wanders. You wonder. I
Yeah.
think it's probably Kang though. If it's anybody, it's probably Kang. Um,
Probably
yeah,
sitting back there. She's probably an original variant, and she's like you said, she's banging Kang. So,
or
but
something.
I would love for it to be Ultron. I would love for them to redeem Ultron and make Ultron this like, yeah, I became a variant because I didn't want to kill the Avengers, and I said, you know what, I want to fix this timeline.
Or something. But the Ultron we saw in the his idea of what's good is not in line with the TVA. I don't think.
No.
One other thing I want, since we're talking about the post credit. I looked at the post credit scene and I thought these dudes really look like they're on an old school rap album cover. Like the way I was just like,
They had the crocodile with the crown. Just
but just the kind of the way it looked like Loki's
it's
looking
just
up, and I was like, man, like Run DMC done went wild on this cover. Yeah,
absolutely.
you think out of all of those, you think Loki would be a mumble rapper if that was good?
I think Loki will be like Eminem
Yeah,
because he's all about mischiefs. He'll rap like Eminem.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
That's freaking hilarious, man.
I was there. You know, there's a couple of things that kind of stood out to me. It's surprising, like there, even though it felt like a lot happened in here, but when I really went back and was like, just kind of making notes about it, I was like, not a ton happened. It was just a lot of like well executed stuff. But um, I liked I liked the Sif, just Jamie Alexander showing up as a cameo for Sif, who we haven't seen in the movies since Thor: The Dark World, right?
Yeah, I'm just happy they recanonize her.
Yeah, like she, but as far as I know, I did she die? Because we never saw her in Ragnarok.
No, she technically is not dead. She's just
Who
written
knows where
off.
she was, but she was not in Ragnarok for because and it was due to scheduling, I think, for Jamie Alexander. But she returns and she just slaps the shit out of Loki and knees him in the and punches him, knees him in the balls, like repeatedly on repeat, and really being really mean, saying some really mean things. But it was also very important that he has an epiphany about himself and learn some things about himself. That's like the theme of this whole show is Loki constantly having all his hubris and all his bravado, strip it all away, and he can just look at himself and just be honest about the shit he does. And
Yeah,
that is something that Loki that got killed in Infinity War did, but did not say out loud to himself. I don't think. I think he internalized it, but he didn't say it out loud to himself. And this
yeah,
Loki really is having to. It's you could almost call this show a psychotherapy session. You know, he's getting analyzed and has to come to grips with some of the shit that he's got going on in himself. So that was fun. I like Sif. You know, we need more of her in the MCU. Which maybe she comes back for Thor: Love and Thunder. It would be nice if that happens. I don't know. Last thing, did you catch this? Did you catch this? Mobius says, "Man, we've captured Kree, Titans, and vampires." And I was like, "Ah!" I was like, "Blade, oh, what? What?" I was like, "Blade."
yeah.
I was like, "You don't even fuck Titans." You know what? Yeah, 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 Titans. Greek gods. Which, by the way, I think the Greek gods, the Greek pantheon is going to get worked into the MCU also. But still, vampires. What, baby? Blades coming. Blades coming. All right, let's go. Get that dark
Yeah,
hole.
I'm
Let's.
excited for. Yeah, I'm excited for the Blade finally getting back into the MCU. You know,
Yep. Blade confirmed for for the TVA.
every time vampires.
You know
Oh
what?
man.
I'm telling you, I keep saying it. I stand by it. Kevin Feige, Victoria Alonso, Louis D'Esposito, all the brain trusts that they are the smoothest criminals in the game right now. That do you see how they slip that in? They keep doing that shit. Every show, everything that comes out, they keep being like, "Oh, you like this? You know, there's more MCU, right? You know, just right around the corner, there's some more. There's vampires, and also Namor is gonna come, and also, you know, there's Celestials and all this." I'm like, man, you guys don't fuck around. They don't stop. They never stop thinking about the next thing because
Yep.
that little throwaway line. I'm like, what? There's vampires? Well, tell me more. Tell me more. Oh man, the TVA is. I'm gonna be so sad if they destroy the TVA. But I'm gonna be super sad because they are literally the gateway to
Pieces of.
almost anything. You know,
Yeah.
they really
They
are.
they opened up the TVA has opened up so much into the story of what Marvel can be, and I appreciate it for it because this is what I always tell people that watch Loki, and they're like, it's not that interesting. I said, you guys need to expand your mind and realize it's not about the show itself. It's about what can come from this show.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we want a good story, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely agree. But it's just amazing to see that there's so much that could come from that. We all know the multiverse thing is going to happen because the TVA is going to be taken down.
And
We
my
know this is
yeah,
going to happen.
and I wonder, in fact, maybe it's inevitable that the TVA has to sort of go away because otherwise, how can we have Spider-Man No Way Home? How can we have
Multiverse of
Multiverse of
Madness.
Madness? How can we have
However,
any of that stuff? How can we have
Ant
Marvel's
Man.
what? Yeah, how can we have Ant Man dealing with Kang and the in the Quantumania? How can we have the Marvel What If? Which I don't know how canon it is, but I'm sure they aren't mad about introducing the Watcher as a he's the framing device for the What If show that's coming out soon. So all of that can only happen if there's no nearly semi omnipotent organization that's culling all of the variants.
Yep.
The fact that now we're calling them variants, they've already kind of like snuck into our understanding of the
Yeah.
MCU.
Stuck into our brain and said, "You guys are now going to call it what we want to call it." So
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah. I do want to. I would just like to say to whoever actually is in charge of the TVA, maybe don't use Chuck E. Cheese as your as your inspiration for your timekeepers. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you got
it
all
looked
this.
like
Y'all got all this damn technology. You can't make a lot.
they look so fake.
They
They look
literally
so
on
fake.
Earth right now. Shield has things that look like real people. The life model
Yeah.
decoys. You can't get one of those.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, like the whole time I'm looking at them, I'm like, they look fucking weird. That's the whole thing. I was like, they look like it did. I was like, yep, looks like a
I
pizza
just,
joint.
yeah. Now that you mentioned, I was like, they should have just busted out into Happy Birthday. That could have been one of their one of their things.
They look like 1980s, 1990s
So it's
animatronics
just like
at
what?
a pizza joint.
Yeah, it's just like Five Nights at TVA or something
Yeah.
like that.
you know, you might speak it up into existence. We might see, we for real might see a game
Oh
like that. Five
gosh,
Nights at TVA.
nice. Anyway, I think that's all our spoilers for this week. So it's a
Yeah,
great episode. God, I
yeah,
wish
great.
they
Yeah,
had done the other ones just like this. But you know what?
yeah.
I'll
There was a
take
lot
it.
of exposition.
Yeah, I'll
A lot
take
of
it.
exposition in the first couple episodes, but they finally, like you said, they finally said, you know what, let's do this one right and get everything into it. And yeah, and like you said, I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So anyway, those are our thoughts about our spoilery thoughts of Loki episode 4. What is that? The Nexus event. So what did you guys think about this episode? What did you think about our comments? Why don't you get down to the comment section and let us know what you're thinking. Of course, you can always hit us up supernotfunnyshow at gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. We can chop it up about Loki. Everyone loves Loki. It's going hard on social media right now. So hit us up. We'd like to talk about it.
Hmm.
All right. I guess we're near the end of the show. But before we go, Lottie, why don't you tell everyone how they can reach you on your socials?
Oh yeah, you could always hit me up on my Instagram. My Instagram is Anukinihun, Anukinhun. Anukinihun. You can always hit me up on there. You can see a lot of my stuff that I'm putting up there, my video games, the characters that I'm developing, and you can also watch some of my videos on YouTube. It is Kinihun 25, Kinihun 25. You can always see the videos that I'm posting. I should be posting some more content soon, but yeah, just stay tuned and you'll see some of that up there.
All right. Yeah, you guys go check that out. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. You know what to do. You know how this social media stuff works. And, do the same for us. Join the Super Not Funny Show family. It's, Super Not Funny Show on YouTube, obviously, because you're listening to it right now. And, of course, we also have it on the podcast forum with just our voices, and you can check that out on all the podcast platforms, but in particular Spotify, because that's where we have it hosted, the Super Not Funny Show podcast. All right, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, thanks once again for joining us for this week's SUPER-CAST. Come back next week. We're going to be covering episode 5 of Loki. I don't know. We're going to have some interesting pun-filled title for that episode. We'll figure it out until then. So, all right. Thanks again, LADI, for joining me, and we're going to get back to it next week. Until then, I have been Mo Poupée, your resident Fabricant and comment extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Peace.